Hi, this is Uday Chopra and you're watching Bollywood Hungama. Keep watching.
Okay, so in terms of learning experience, what was exact learning experience for you as it?
I think for
totally
me,
different paradigm from what Bollywood is.
Yeah, it's a completely different industry. The way it's structured is very different. What I learned primarily, more than anything else as a producer, is that you could make a $30 million movie like Grace and need only like 20% of that actual money to put into it, because a lot of it, that finance can be raised out of foreign sales, pre-sales, and tax rebates from different countries, different states. So that's a very interesting space to be in as an independent producer who has a voice today to make a movie and not be dependent on a studio to really go ahead and make that movie. Whereas like in India, we don't have that ability. We don't even have the banking systems in place that would discount, you know, a pre-sale or a rebate. So that really helps. That's one structure that I got to learn. The other thing that we are very different from the West is that the industry pretty much works through the agencies. And the agencies are very powerful. And they are the ones who actually run, and they are like the oil that greases that entire industry.
Right.
So we don't approach talent, be it directors, actors or writers directly ever. You go through an agent and you make the deal with the agent, and then that's when you actually get to sit down with the talent and discuss with them and get them to agree or not agree depending on that. So they become very powerful people. You know, getting a meeting with an agent actually becomes a big deal. And if they like your project or they are excited by your company and by you, then they would forward that to the talent, and if they don't, then they won't even do that.
Okay.
So those are the differences, I think, in doing the business, as opposed to what India is. But the actual filmmaking process is pretty much the same. The creative process is similar. A writer will write it, an actor has to learn their lines, and a director will tell them what to do. So that way is something that I didn't need to learn, because that's how we make movies, how everybody makes movies. But yeah, the structure and the financing is quite different.
Okay, now what sort of planning are you having in place in terms of, are you having offices in US and UK? What is the game plan like for the future?
Well, I mean, there are two different things. One is, of course, the Yash Raj Films parent company in India. We are a studio. We have our offices all over the world for distribution.
Right.
But this is a completely different thing altogether. This is a production house that we've set up in LA. So we have an office in LA at the moment, which is manned by a few people there. And my focus is also going to be there, which is going to be producing movies and English language movies for an international audience.
Right.
So the idea with Grace was to get a leg into the industry, to come in as a financier / producer. But the main aim of the company is to develop my own content with writers and then produce that myself and take that forward. And that's how I plan to grow that company.
Okay, and what are you doing next as far as your Hollywood project is concerned?
So we've actually finished two projects. My first project actually was another film called The Longest Week, which is like an elevated rom-com with Jason Bateman, Olivia Wilde, and we're releasing that second. This is our first release.
Sure.
But that was actually the first movie that I got into. So that released sometime around the fall, and we'll talk more about that when that releases. But apart from that, these are movies already ready. We've sold the rights and things like that. I'm developing two other projects. One of them is with the writer of Grace of Monaco, Arash Amel. We optioned a book called Seducing Ingrid Bergman. So this is a slice of the Ingrid Bergman's life when World War II had just gotten over, and she was sent by the studios, RKO, to Paris to entertain the troops. And she's at this point a married woman with a child, and she meets up with this very famous war photographer called Robert Capa. And Robert Capa, of course, flirts with her and tries to woo her, and he finally manages to seduce her, and they have this very torrid love affair. And of course, it's also got a very interesting backdrop, because that was also the beginning of the Cold War when the World War II got over. And there was this huge propaganda machine happening in Hollywood, which was basically anti-communist. And they had the McCarthy witch hunts. And it was a very sinister time in Hollywood where this backdrop of their love story happens.
Right.
And that's the next project that we're almost finished with the draft. And now we go out to directors and actors when I go back to LA.